Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So one of our viewers sent me a message to check out this story that they saw on the Daily Mail with Robb Wolf and his co-author of some book they wrote together. Her name is Diana Rodgers. And in this story on the Daily Mail, they say that Robb's an ex-vegan. I have to admit, I don't know too much about Robb, and this video is not going to be a personal attack against him or Diana, anything of the sort. I'm responding to this article because of all the just horrible misinformation that they give about vegan diets. So this article begins by saying that back when Robb was a vegan, he suffered from ulcerative colitis, which is an inflammation of the colon and rectum. And the implication sure seems to be that a vegan diet is somehow the cause of ulcerative colitis, but nowhere in the medical literature is it stated that vegan diets, vegetarian diets, or plant-based diets of any sort are the cause of ulcerative colitis. So anyway, the article says that Robb gave up eating a vegan diet and switched to a high-protein paleo diet, and then and only then did his ulcerative colitis symptoms clear up or go away. But again, the implication seems to be that, oh, you have to give up eating all plants. Somehow, some of the plant foods he was eating must have been the triggers of ulcerative colitis. So anyway, I went over to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation website to see what foods they recommend that people eat or avoid eating, and they have a list of these foods. And in the avoid list, we have lactose and high-fat foods, which ironically is commonly found in meat products. But anyway, let's move on to foods that are okay. Low-fiber foods, such as bananas, which I eat all the time, and also refined grains, such as sourdough, potato, white pasta, white rice, and oatmeal. And this is like fantastic news for someone like me if I happen to have ulcerative colitis, which I don't, by the way, almost 10 years vegan, because these are the foods I eat day in and day out. So anyway, I want to make it clear that I'm happy that Robb is no longer suffering from ulcerative colitis, but I want to make it equally clear that his information he shared here about his personal experience is in no way some kind of logical proof, scientific evidence that vegan diets cause ulcerative colitis. So next to me is one of the more shocking and bold claims they made. So let me read it to you as they said it so I don't mess anything up. He said, they explained that humans did not evolve to be vegan, first claim. And second one, and animal protein is healthy and needs to be consumed. Nowhere in this article in the Daily Mail did I see some kind of proof, some kind of logical argument, scientific evidence. Maybe it's in their book, I don't know, but let's respond to the first of those two claims right now. So is David right that humans did not evolve to be vegan? Well, in a certain light, yeah, he is right, because at its core, veganism is nothing more than a moral, ethical stance. You either agree or disagree with this proposition. So yes, this has absolutely nothing to do with evolution, and it has everything to do with morality and ethics. All right, so now his second claim that animal protein is healthy and needs to be consumed. Needs. Do you know what needs means? It means something is necessary, something is required, meaning without it, without animal protein, one would be ill, one would die. So that's a pretty extreme claim, and I, for one, would love to see what evidence, if any, David has for this extreme, bold conclusion, because I've been making videos here on YouTube since 2013. I've cited hundreds of studies, read through even more, and I've yet to see one that says it's absolutely necessary to have animal protein in one's diet or else one will perish. I mean, I, for one, if David could bring up his anecdotal experience of ulcerative colitis, I could talk about myself here. This will be my 10th year vegan in just like 3 or 4 more months. 10 years of vegan, and I'm not suffering from any health issues. I'll put my blood tests up for you guys to see here in a second. And let's move on to the position of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the largest organization of health professionals in the world, and they say that vegan diets are nutritionally adequate and healthful for all people in all phases of life. And this isn't just an armchair reasoning conclusion they came to. This is based upon over 100 citations. He then goes on to say that cutting meat from a diet can result in iron deficiencies. Didn't say it's more likely, it just can. Like switching to a meat diet can cause iron deficiencies, because iron deficiency isn't something that only vegans suffer from. But again, he's making it sound like that if you switch from a non-vegan diet to a vegan diet, iron deficiency is a common symptom. And once again, it's not, I'll put my blood test here. This is from last year, about 1 year ago. So this is about 9 years vegan. And here's the entirety of it so you can check it, pause it, whatever. So let's focus on my iron readings in the anemia profile here. And you see for the entirety of this anemia profile, I'm well within the reference range, far from being deficient in anything, Rob. Next, Dave tries to call out plants for not having as much protein per calorie as meat does. And like, why is that a bad thing? Why is more protein a good thing? It's like, I could say the same thing about meat, right? I could say meat is inferior to plants because meat per calorie has fewer carbohydrates. But I'm not saying that. It's just that these foods have different macronutrient profiles. It's not good nor bad. And I want to point out that more isn't necessarily better, especially if we're talking about is someone deficient and do they have the proper ratio of macronutrients they need to be healthy. And once again, let's look at my blood tests here. Here is albumin and protein. And once again, I'm well within the reference range, not close to being deficient. So why do they bring this whole deal up about there being less protein in plants than there is meat? Again, I think there's an implication here of bias trying to get people to eat meat instead and not be vegan. And the implication also is that if you're vegan, not eating any meat, just eating plants, it's going to be more difficult, if not impossible, for us to get the protein that our bodies require. And also, this is completely untrue. Let's look, and let me start off by saying that, in case you're not aware, that all plants have protein. Some plants have more protein than other plant foods do, but all plants have protein. And even foods that you don't think have a lot of protein, like say bananas, have a decent amount once you really analyze it here. Let's go and look at a calculation I did on Chronometer about my breakfast smoothie, my fruit smoothie that I have most every morning. It's primarily comprised of bananas, and it has almost 17 grams of protein. Again, this is primarily just from bananas, 17 grams. And this is how I ate for years. I still have these almost every day, especially after a workout. But let's add a little bit more protein in the form of a supplement. As you guys know, about maybe 16, 17 months ago, I started doing some weight trainings for my basketball athleticism and slam dunking training. And like most guys at the gym, I found a supplement I liked. In this case, I found a full vegan one made by Clean Machine. It's made out of lentil, a water lentil, duckweed. Anyway, if you put a full scoop of this into my smoothie as I do after heavy lifting, it's an extra 20 grams on top of the 17 grams. So 37 grams of protein. And on other days, I'll put in a half scoop. So I have 27 grams of protein. And this is just from one meal. And I'm going to have 2 or 3 more throughout the day. So it's really not that difficult to get protein as a vegan, especially if I start eating more high protein foods later on in the day, such as legumes and spinach. And he says protein is essential for your body to retain muscle mass, especially if you exercise regularly, which I do, and helps keep your immune system. All right, good. And hormone production, hair and nails healthy. Well, as you guys see, I'm 53 years old, and you saw my hair was down to here. It grew out after 7 months, and I just cut it again. As far as muscle mass, I've been getting stronger the whole time I started weight training. You guys know before that, I was more into endurance training, such as running and cycling. And ever since the gyms got locked down here, basically back in early March, I haven't had access to heavy weights. I haven't had access to basketball courts, at least ones that had rims available. They took them all down. But just this week, yesterday, I finally went to my first basketball court since early March, and no heavy weights, no lifting, and I'm still able to do this on a basketball court after laying off for about 4 months. So I think my body's been doing pretty okay with the protein situation. And towards the end of the article, David made this one statement here, which makes it even question if he understands what veganism really is. It says that although they acknowledge that turning vegan can be good for some people's diets, particularly if they ate a lot of processed foods before, no, you can be a vegan and still eat a bunch of processed foods after turning vegan. Nowhere in the definition of veganism does it state that one must eat or should even eat healthy, unprocessed foods or low in processed processed foods. Again, it's a moral stance that you either agree with or disagree with. So veganism need not be healthy. I advocate eating a more healthy, whole food, plant-based vegan diet, but I know plenty of people who don't, junk food vegans, and they're in it for the morals and ethics. So please don't assume all vegans are eating a certain way. The only thing that we all share in common diet-wise is that we eat no animal products. Remember at the start of this video, I said that this article in the Daily Mail was about Robb Wolf and his co-author, Diana Rodgers, who I haven't said too much about yet. Well, now I want to say a little bit more about her because I found this really interesting article that she published on Robb's website about why it's impossible to be vegan. The story by Diana talks about how her young daughter was horrified and grieving and crying when she encountered the body of a sheep that was attacked by some coyotes or wolves. So Diana and her husband tried to impart some wisdom onto this young daughter by saying that there are tiny organisms in the soil that need the nutrients in that sheep. Those bones in the sheep will turn into calcium to grow better kale. Everything dies and comes back again. So her daughter then concludes, so then it's impossible to be vegan. If soil is living and everything dead comes back again, then you can't possibly eat without eating something that has died. And then after that, her parents were very happy. Andrea and I both looked at each other and our eyes popped out of our heads. Wow, she made that leap pretty swiftly. So wow, a lot to unpack there. Let me just contrast that for the reason why I went vegan. It was the realization that animals did not need to die in order for me to live. And that was like a profound realization. It was like a ton of bricks fell on me. Like, wow, why would I intentionally choose a lifestyle that necessitates killing animals when I could pick one that didn't? But her parents just kind of blew that out and say, no, you need to eat dead animals in order to live. Well, they're sort of right, that you do need to have something to put in the soil, something that was once alive, but they're lying when they say that it has to be a once living animal. You can put nutrients back into the soil by putting plants back into the soil. Have they ever heard of veganic farming, which involves using absolutely no animal products whatsoever in regenerating the soil? Everything comes from plants. And in my own personal experience, I've been growing food here in my front yard and in community gardens for years, and I've never once had to use an animal product to put into the soil. So this is complete nonsense that you need to kill animals to put them into soil so that you can grow food. Complete lie. All right, big deep breath there. I was getting a little excited there. It shows you I'm human. I'm a very passionate person, even though I try to remain cool, calm, and collected. I just want to make it clear here. I'm not saying that Robb or Diana or anyone is intentionally lying to you in the mainstream media. I'm just saying there's some misinformation being spread, and it just could be just from ignorance, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way, just not being fully informed in a subject matter. Like I said, maybe they never heard of veganic farming, but I'm really what inspired me to make this video was that first claim of theirs that animal protein is needed. It's necessary in our diets to be healthier or whatever, and there's absolutely no science I've ever seen that supports that. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics says completely the opposite, that perfectly planned vegetarian and vegan diets are nutritionally adequate and helpful for all people in all stages of life, and my personal experience says otherwise as well. Like I said, nearly 10 years vegan, and I'm still waiting for all these bad things to happen to me that all the haters were telling me 5 years ago were going to happen to me, and I'm still waiting. I'm still getting my blood tested every year, nothing deficient. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting more athletic as I age, which is really weird, doing things now that I couldn't do 10 years ago. So anyway, I just want to make these videos to counter the misinformation, to show what's really going on, and I back it up with fact, with scientific evidence and valid logical arguments. So if you like what you're seeing here, subscribe, because you're going to see more of that. Hit the like button to show YouTube that these videos should rise up in the rankings, so more people will see the real information here. So leave your questions, comments down below. Let me know if you know much about Robb Wolf. I don't believe I've ever made a video about him before. I know he's been around a long time. So yeah, no hard feelings, no hate or anything like that to him. Just responding to a few points that I strongly disagree with. So like, subscribe, and all that. Until next time, guys, let's keep it carved.
When does the pain